Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, MrBooMStickXL, and I have put together one heck of a show for you guys today. All of the hot button topics you want to hear about, plus some off the cuff topics that no one is talking about, and that's what you're always going to get with my show. But in order to pull off a show this big, I need the help of my esteemed guests. And first up, you know him as a real American hero, but he always calls for a recount when the voting is tallied for his gameplay on the next podcast, and I don't blame him. Sometimes I think he gets robbed. My very good friend, Predator H2O. Welcome, dude.
What's going on, man? Yeah, I get robbed every week by mud trucks. So I don't know. I don't think people watching gameplay, they're just voting for the wrong people all the time.
I don't know, man. Yeah, vote for Pred. That's right. We're gonna put that into the chat. Next up, is a man who knows a thing or two about the gaming industry. And for your own safety, please don't call him a developer, because guess what? If you make him angry, you won't like him when he's angry. And I can hear that Hulk music coming in the background. The Don, welcome, dude.
Hulk music. Oh man, I guess that described me to a T. A very angry person when we talk about games. But yeah, thanks for having me on there, Boom. This has always been fun to do it, and it's a good wake up call in the morning. Don't get me wrong. So I'm good to go.
Well, I definitely appreciate it, and we're a little short with guests today. A few people backed out at the last minute, and you know what? We're going to run a three-man show. I think everyone that's on this panel is a professional, and we're going to do the right thing by everyone that has tuned in. So get ready for the show. But you know what? Before we go into the topics, I kind of just want to touch on something serious. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, my wife Josette and I have decided to donate 50% of all Super Chat donations for the channel for the entire month of October. Now, you've heard me say that before. I like saying it in the beginning because the donations have been fantastic. If you don't want to donate to the Super Chat and you want to donate directly to a cancer awareness site, do that. I encourage everyone, if you have a few bucks, believe it or not, even if it's $5, $10, $20, it does help. Being a family who has lost important members, my wife lost her mother to breast cancer in 2017, and I lost my dad to lymphoma in 1997. We wanted to do something special, and that's what we're doing. With every show, I like putting out information that may help someone in the audience that is dealing with this. First, you're not alone, and there are plenty of places that offer counseling and assistance if you can't afford to get your medical treatment. And second, the only way to combat any form of cancer is early detection. And the way everyone can do this is really simple. Please just go for your yearly checkups, especially if you have any kind of form of cancer that runs in your family. That is very important. Just for a real, I want to do a public announcement. The organization that my wife and I have decided to donate all of the money at the end of October is Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. If you're interested in checking out their website, I will attempt to put it into the link of the chat. But once again, I want to thank everyone who has donated to this extremely important cause. And you know what? We're here to talk about games, so let's do that first. The first topic, and I think this is going to be a good one, PSN name changes finally coming to the PlayStation 4. And of course, the internet has officially caught fire. This awesome news comes to us via the official PlayStation Canada Twitter account. And here's exactly what it said. It's official. The ability to change your PSN online ID is coming. Here are the first details. Testing with select users starts soon. A full rollout is planned for early 2019. Now, with the year that Sony has put together with the releases of God of War, Detroit Become Human, and of course, Spider-Man, this is a great way to end the year considering that PSX was canceled. But Predator, I want to go to you on this. You guys are great to have on today's show because both of you are really technical when it comes to like working with computers. I've seen the layout on how to do this. To me, it seems confusing. Do you think that this is a big win that Sony fans finally can change their name?
Yes and no. I think there's still some hiccups with it. I remember seeing an article. I think PTK Blam linked it somewhere, but I guess within the coding that they made, that they it makes it difficult for them to make changes to names because of how the earlier games or earlier systems were made. I don't know. It's happy. I'm glad they've got it out now and they're rolling it out, but I think it only works with certain games. So it's kind of like it's a win-loss for them. It's like A, it's about time, and B, why is it so fucked up in the first place?
It kind of shows this weakness in the network that was kind of hidden before. Is the way to kind of look at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, they rushed out the PlayStation Network, obviously when it was on the PS3, and I don't think they cared about what was going to happen in the future, and that's why we are where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Going forward, I mean, they don't have to pay for this, right? It's free, correct?
No.
I don't think it is, dude. I think that you actually have to pay for this.
There's two tier structures. There's one for like the PS Plus members and the standard PlayStation Network, the free members. So there's like two tiers, and so obviously if you're the higher tier, you pay less. I think it's like half. It's around the same it's around the same price starting as what Xbox does, and then they have a tier that's like $8 or $6 or something like that. I don't know the exact amount.
Really complicated to me, personally. I mean, if you're one of those guys that made a name like 10 years ago and you can't change it, it's one of those things that should have been taken care of way earlier in the generation when they came out the PlayStation 2 or something like that. But I mean, it's stupid, but whatever. I don't have a problem with it. I didn't make up a fucked up name like
you didn't make up dildo sticks 27 or something. Yeah, listen, what's unfortunate is this. Obviously we're all older, and when we got the PlayStation 3, we were considerably younger, all of us, but at the same time we weren't making like silly names that a 13-year-old would get, that would make, right? And that makes sense because you got to remember the PlayStation 3 for a lot of gamers in 2018, that was their first system. So they get this system and they're like, oh, make a name up. And they're like, yeah, Johnny Two-Tone, and whatever. And they don't care. Like, okay, this is, it's a dumb name, but it's fun for them when you're 13, 14, and 15. And when you get into your 20s, and you're like let's say you're 25 and you got a job and you're working, and people are more open to admitting that they play games. Back in the days, it wasn't like that. It was like, you play games? What are you, 8? Right? I remember hearing that in the precinct. I got my balls broken on a regular basis because I played games. So for the most part, I didn't talk about it that much. But at the same time, those 13, 14, and 15-year-olds are now they have their PlayStation 4s, and gaming is extremely social. And someone's going to ask you your hey, what's your PSN ID tag, and you're gonna be ashamed to say that it's two tits, or something stupid like that. So I'm actually happy for the fan base that they can do it. I just think that I did read that there are some games that are showing issues with it. So I don't know if I would even do it. Don, I want to go to you on this. First of all, are you excited that people can actually do it? And do you think that this is maybe Sony jumping the gun a little bit, considering that this is rolling out to problems?
Well, it's beta. So that's the first thing. It's select people and it's in a beta form. So with anything that's in beta form, keep in mind you're okay, and they have an out, and you're not going to be without your games or without your gamer tag. Like, they're covering people on this, so they're doing the right thing for considering where it's currently at. It's terribly disappointing it doesn't work on older stuff. There's like a certain cutoff with certain games and the way their network is currently working. That it'll only show up the old name, and the new name is only going to be tied to new stuff kind of going forward. But it kind of the problem phases itself out over time, is the way I kind of look at it. And they have to get it done. This has to be done. I mean, people make bad decisions all the time.
Yes.
Your name choice when you start up your gamer tag it's not exempt from that. I mean, people just sometimes people just like, okay, whatever. Like they don't even understand like what they're creating at the time, but they just know they have to get online. And so that's the way I kind of look at it. It needs to get done. It does show their flaws in their system, but let's get over that. Let's move past that and let's let people change their names. And it's, I think, more important now than it ever has been, because look, man, all your games are, your digital library is tied to your gamer tag.
Yep.
And not being able, you can't just like, I'm out. It's something you invest a lot of time, a lot of money, especially with trophies and things like that. So I think this is a good thing. I'm not going to hate on them for it. Let's just acknowledge that it just took them some time, no big deal, and then we're going to move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it is an option for you to fix a mistake that you made when you were a kid, and you should be able to do that. I mean, we are in 2018. I am going to say this, that it is unfortunate that they are running into so many problems, and it's only going to affect like newer games. I think it only goes back as far as 2016, I think, is what the article said.
I would say that cutoff date most likely is still work in progress.
Yeah, well, you know what it is. Like you said, it is in beta. It has not officially rolled out. It's only for a select few members. So let's hope that they get their stuff together. First, I just want to pay the bills real quick. I have to give a huge shout out to Smitty Smith. He says, just sending a little love, dude. He dropped a $20 super chat. I really appreciate that. That's awful kind of you. Thank you. But you know what? Let's keeping with the PlayStation family. This story was pulled from comicbook.com, and it's very interesting, and I'm glad to have you guys on the panel because I want to talk about this. According to a source, it's unnamed, so take this with a grain of salt, folks. The PlayStation 5 may launch with a portable device, and if you're thinking it's the PlayStation Vita 2.0, you're thinking too small. You'll notice that they didn't call this a gaming device or even use the word handheld, which brings up gadgets like the 3DS and Vita. That's what you think about when you think of handhelds. They call this a tablet, which casts a very wide net. Now, this sounds very, very similar to what Microsoft is doing with the kind of like, the X-Cloud. And yes, with this so-called tablet, you can game on them, but there are... you'll also be able to watch Netflix, stream music, and catch up on your social media feed. So, Don, I want to go to you. What do you think that this is? Because, if you, like I said, if you remember when on Monday, when Project X-Cloud was announced, the internet nearly melted, right? Everyone was like, oh my God, the brand has been, destroyed. It's devalued. It's shit.
Everyone freaks out. They don't know how to frame it correctly.
Right.
Either it's one extreme or the other, right? Like it'll never work, or it's going to replace your current hardware that you have at home, and it's neither. It's its own thing. And that's the same thing with like these rumors with a sort of tablet. I mean, that's the idea of it. So, I wouldn't be surprised they get in the tablet market in some sort of form factor, and in a good way for them to get in is through the PlayStation name. If you kind of look at it these days, because that's the most popular thing Sony's got going.
Absolutely, that's correct.
But they don't, if you look at all their other electronic devices that they're currently selling, it's not they make crap, just no one cares. Exception maybe like their television, and we've all kind of grown up from the era of Sony was Apple, essentially. You bought anything electronics, you bought Sony. They were the kings of that domain, and now they're a mere shell of it. So this kind of falls, I think, in the lines of the old Sony is consumer electronics. The best way to get in is through the PlayStation, family. And if people are going to stream, they having a device with that particular brand associated with it, with that streaming service, is really not a bad thing. I mean, look at Microsoft. They own computers. Like I think it was like 85% of computers are all Windows out there.
Yes, that's correct.
Apple. People always praise Apple. Apple has such a small segment of the computer market. it's almost embarrassing if you compare numbers. but the reality is, even though they own the majority of OSs that are out there on currently computers, they also have their Surface lineup, which is kind of the pinnacle line of, if you're, I wouldn't say PC gamer or anything like that, but it's something for those PC elitist, or I don't even say elitist, but people like PC. It's something they can gravitate towards that's in-house, sort of like a hero product is the best way to kind of describe it. Yes. Or a Halo product is what they usually refer to it as. So a Halo product. So realistically, this is kind of that for Sony. And if they can also make it so you can do their streaming at a decent level, that's going to work well for them, then they possibly got a product. But we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where this is going to go, because I'm not concerned at all. I mean, I'm excited because, and I said this in a rant video I did on my channel. I don't do many of them because I don't like to do it, and I didn't, start cursing and using foul language to get my point across. I put facts out there. I don't know. I can't say I know how old you guys are, but I just turned 48. Okay?
Damn!
Yeah, I'm the old man in the room, and it's fine. It's great, because why it's okay is I can say with full confidence, I've seen the industry from its infancy to where it is now. Like, I started with one stick and a button. Okay. And I'm proud of that, because now I look at where gaming is going, and I'm tickled pink with the idea of digital play and everything. And, there are a lot of people that don't, and again, you guys seen the internet, what happened Monday, everyone went crazy.
Well, I don't think people should feel threatened. Like, I've been preaching way before the announcement. I've been preaching this a while ago. That it is something different. It's kind of like, PC gamers will talk about how their experience is so much better than a console gamer, regardless of how good consoles get. Guess what console gamers do? They play their console. They don't care what the PC gamer, and vice versa. Exactly. So there are people that are going to gravitate towards streaming that are not, but they, and they'll talk about all the advantages and all the stuff that they feel that they have, and console gamers are not going to care. Same thing with PC gamers. They're not going to care. But it doesn't mean there's not an audience for that group, so we can see a little bit more growth, because it basically removes that barrier of hardware for those people. And so if you remove the barrier of hardware from it, and it's not quite the experiences, say, somebody that buys their own hardware, you get what you pay for. No big deal.
Well, here's the thing. Usually I like to use common sense. I think that is something that goes unnoticed by many people on the internet, especially on social media. And you have to remember this. Streaming, even though it has been around, it's now going to be mainstream in 2019, 2020, right? One of the biggest complaints I saw with how Microsoft has just devalued the Xbox is that they wanted to know what was the reason for owning an Xbox. Well, owning a traditional box underneath your TV gives you the 4K 60 and HDR that you want. You're not going to get that from a streaming box the size of a deck of cards. I'm sorry, you're just not.
You're also getting better controls, right? Like that's the fundamental thing that you argue. Like, people always say, well, then the latency is going to be so bad on streaming. Like, it's not the opposite extreme or the other. It's like they're going to get the goal is to try to get as close as you can to a box that's under your television. Will they ever get there? Well, basic, elementary school physics will tell you it's not possible. But can you lessen the gap? Sure. And that's what they're trying to do. And so there's some people that, like, the audience in gaming is much bigger than us that are the hardcore enthusiasts. There are people that they don't care about latency. Put some pretty graphics on them and they feel like they're in control. Exactly. Regardless if it's a higher latency or not, then they'll be happy.
You know what? I'm excited. I'm probably going to be a double dipper. I'm going to get to the traditional $500. And I'm assuming it's $500. The Scarlet Xbox One X2, if you want to call it, and that's going to be in the living room. and I'm going to want to dabble, and I'll spend the $100 or $150 on the little X-Cloud, because I'm going to want to try it out. And on top of that, I'll literally have Xbox in 2 rooms. Now, when I'm in the bedroom, do I care if I'm not in 4K 60? Do I care if I'm playing in 1080p? No. If I want to play the big boy, I'll come out in the living room and I'll play in the big boy and call it a day. I don't know. Maybe that's common sense. But I want to go to you, Pred. We're going to talk about what we talked about in the DM, when you tried Assassin's Creed. But I want to get what you're feeling on this. What is your take on the whole streaming thing?
I was talking to Z the other day, and it was one of those situations where he's like, I don't want to lose my console.
Gotcha. And that makes sense.
And I agree with him. I can see this not necessarily taking over immediately, but going down the road, does it make any sense for you to buy a $500, $600 console to play games if you can stream them on anything, and all you would need is just a controller? Or you can just play on your mouse and keyboard, that you already own. You've already spent $1,000 on a laptop or something like that, or a $2,000 system. Why do you need to go out and buy another system just to play games? So it's working. I know we'll get into this topic a little bit later, but I don't know. I think I still want my console.
I agree. I'm right there with you. I'm never going to just transfer over to all digital. That's just not something I would do.
Yeah, and it's and that's another aspect of it too. I'm all digital basically on my Xbox now, but I didn't think about that aspect of it, like where you don't make physical copies anymore. And I don't want to. I'm trying not to break into the other subject we're going to go into too much, but I've tried it and it works. I can see some small little nuances with it that will perturb me that I'll talk about later, but I would still want my console. I want to see that device sitting on my entertainment center where, I can plug it in and I get every ounce of power out of it I possibly can, and not be streaming in, 1080p when I can get 4K, so
exactly.
There's going to be some, like I said, immediately, I think we'll still get consoles, but can I see down the road, like maybe 10 years from now?
I was just going to say 10 years, yeah.
Where we're only, it's just a service base, kind of like Netflix, and you just you used to buy your games on whatever website and you just stream it from there. I can see that happening. I think there's some more testing needs to be done first, especially like with the multiplayer aspect of it, playing with, in 100-man servers and shit like that. So there's some work that needs to be done in there, but I'm still going to continue to own my consoles as long as I can.
Yes, you know what? I kind of just want to ask your opinion on this, and this isn't a plastic war question. This is not to poke fun at one or the other. Microsoft on Monday announces the xCloud, Project xCloud. Internet melts, right? Done. Everyone's jumping off buildings. Fire department is pulling people out of trees. It's unbelievable. It's like it's and this story breaks. This Sony story. I didn't pull this out from the depths of hell. I pulled this out on a regular website like everyone else, right? I saw it. I thought it might be good to talk about because the episode is going to be talking about digital and where we're going. And I did not see one person, and I really mean this, I looked for it. I didn't see one person on Twitter saying, "Oh, this is devastating. Sony devalued, garbage." No one said a word. And now we're hearing that if the PlayStation 5 is not going to come with the tablet, they may have a package deal, or they're going to sell it separately. It just seems like it's okay for one company to do whatever they want and the other company not. So in regards to like you're going to buy a PlayStation 5, we probably all are, and I actually can't wait to own new hardware. I love it. That's why I support all 3 major console makers. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm probably never going to use it, but because I like tech, if Sony decides to sell this tablet that comes with the controller separately, I'm probably going to buy that too. What is your thought on Sony doing what Microsoft is publicly doing now? I mean, I'm not surprised by this, but what's your take?
They get away with this shit all the time, though. But they can do something. If Microsoft does something, it's shunned. you know. But as soon as Sony does it, it's, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, look at the articles, and like you were saying a minute ago, you know, like they'll be like, oh, this is genius for Sony. But then when Xbox does the same thing, or has done it been earlier on in the generation, it was all negative stuff. Like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. This is why you shouldn't buy this. And, you know, this Kinect is spying on you. Like all that crap like that. It's just the media bias, man. And because it's got the Microsoft brand on it, specifically the Xbox brand, it's always going to get a negative light with the media. So we've seen that throughout this generation. I don't want to put a tinfoil hat on and play the console war BS, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, you see it in the news every single day where they do shit like this, and they get away with it. Sony can do it, and we can't. But at the end of the day, we're all going to having the same, you know, when it's all said and done, we'll all have the same features on every single box because they just copy each other. You know, Sony does something good, Microsoft will do it. If Nintendo does something good, Sony will do it. You know, vice versa, mix and match. And so, you know, when it's all settled, the dust is all settled, we will all have pretty much the same console, be able to do the same thing on each one.
Pretty much. I mean, look, I'm going to say this. If you are a gamer in 2018, times are changing. And I think that if you're just now getting into gaming, good on you. But, you know, if an old dog like me could accept these massive, you know, differences and change, you know, I mean, you got to remember where I came from. I went from floppy disks to cartridges to CD-ROMs to DVDs to Blu-ray and now to digital. And I took it all in with a big smile, like a big giant smile. I could not wait to get my hands on the next piece of tech. But you know what? Microsoft is doing this. That's out there. Sony is doing this. It was kind of whispered. Nintendo will be doing this. Times are changing. And again, I'm going to say this. Your traditional hardware that you get to pull out of a box and sniff because you like that new smell of electronics, like a Coke fiend, you're gonna still get that. This is not going away until, okay, that is until these little, you know, card deck box sized streaming boxes can produce what the big one that's sitting right next to me is. And I don't think that we're going to see that for another 10 or 15 years.
I don't think it's possible.
I don't. I am right there with you.
Here's the thing: is like, in order to have that mentality to say, okay, streaming will take over everything, you have to ignore so many harsh realities. So, like, anytime electronics are built, right? So, you know, for example, my cell phone doesn't have as much power as my Xbox One X. But the technology in my cell phone, it helped make the chip price cheap enough so I can buy an Xbox One X at $500, right? So all chips have, like, and the best way to describe it, they have influence over one another. So the stuff that's built in my PC, it helps bring the technology and the price down. So everything that's put in a server room depends on all these other electronics in order to get the price of those components that go into that server room cheaper.
Yep.
Well, things get more powerful and cheaper in the server room, things get more accessible to the average consumer, right?
Yes.
So like it's an ecosystem of components. What affects one affects the other. And so to think all of a sudden we magically are just going to make chips for our server room and forget about anything else in the real world is just not realistic. And then the harsh reality, there's always going to be an advantage to something under your television that's doing the processing versus someone does it remotely. And there's certain strengths to cloud computing. Streaming is actually one of the most inefficient things out of all of them. So the reason why they push it so much is it's realistically they can get more money in their pocket, but it's not as much money because it's not very effective as far as that goes. But if you have a wider audience, you have more money in your pocket is the thought process. You have companies they want, like Microsoft, the reason why they announce it is they want other companies to be dependent on them. So let's say you're an EA or whatever, you're still dependent on Microsoft because their streaming technology is above and beyond, say, that someone else's service, right? So you want to be on the premier service that's there, so you want to have that dependency of these other companies wanting to use your product. So that's why when they're looking at streaming, they don't really look at what Sony is providing right now, just because of where they are at infrastructure wise. That's why they look at the Amazons and then look at the Googles as competition.
Yes.
In this space in particular, because what they don't want to do is now it becomes, hey, I can buy hardware physically from Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, but there's also the streaming option. But then I'm split between two different ecosystems. Like, they don't want that, right? They want you to keep you trapped in their ecosystem. So for Microsoft, they don't care if you're streaming the device. They don't care if you're buying local hardware. They don't care if you're playing it on a PC. You're involved in their ecosystem. You're spending money with them, which makes their business partners want to continue to be involved with them. And that's what's going on. There's always a bigger picture that's going on. I think when people constantly think, hey, this is new technology, this is going to replace everything else, it's just not how technology works sometimes. And this, I know a lot of people in the industry and also make hardware. And to be honest with you, I had a good friend of mine that he works for IM Flash. He's a chemical engineer for him. Okay. So he's the guy that helps with some of the latest memory that we're getting in our computers. And I remember him telling me, he's like, yeah, flash memory, it's going to replace RAM in your computer, your hard drive, it's going to replace all this stuff. It hasn't done any of that. And he told me that was 3 years ago. But obviously it's done a lot of good stuff for computers, right? And it more or less the technology that he works on, it is in my computer, but it doesn't replace those other components. It helps enhance what's already there. So I think sometimes when you look at technology, you got to look at it from a perspective as a gamers. It's not probably not going to replace anything, but where is it going to benefit you, and does it apply to you? And if you come out of that approach, it becomes more fun. You get to have more fun with it versus being afraid of it. Does that make sense?
No, that actually makes a lot of sense, because that is usually what happens. People are afraid of change, and technology sometimes, you got to remember, when you're used to popping a disc in. I mean, look, we have a lot of friends in this, the YouTube and Twitter circles. A guy like Jago, who's in the chat, he likes buying his physical discs, right? Perfect example, Noof Nukem. If he can buy it physical, he'll do it. Same thing for Foxy. She's fantastic. She's a big reason why I got into YouTube, because I loved her channel so much. She will never go digital fully. If she can buy a disc, she's going to buy it. But I don't know how long disc making is going to last. I have no clue on.
Well, the funny thing is, it doesn't cost much for disc. Like, people always talk about the complaints of physical discs. It's actually not the production that's an issue. It costs more just to get it to a store.
Yes,
is what goes on there. So realistically, yeah, they make a little bit less money, but they're still making a decent amount of money. They make more money on digital. But then you take the same token, you take what is it? The subscription services, everyone's got it. EA, Sony's got
EA
it.
Access,
PlayStation Now's got it because you can download the games, and you got Xbox's Game Pass. Realistically, everyone makes less money off that service, right? But it's money that's being made that normally wouldn't have been made otherwise. And it helps. Sometimes it helps people take the risk and buy a physical copy or their own license. So all these things have influence. And that's why I also look at like these streaming devices. Like, okay, let's say Boom decides, I'm not going to do streaming. I'm not going to do physical anymore. I'm fully embracing streaming. I'm okay with it. I like where the technology is at, and I'm committed to it. Cool. Well, for every person that you lose there, you're going to get somebody that tries gaming for the first time, loves it, and is going to want the premium experience, and they're going to get the physical hardware. So that, just like Game Pass, gets people to try a game, well, most likely a lot of those people end up buying games because of Game Pass. It's the same thing's going to happen with streaming and physical hardware as well. So they complement each other, I would say, more than take away.
Yeah, you know what? I'm like I said, I think the three of us have come to the conclusion that we're all excited. It doesn't matter which console. If Microsoft gives you the ability to play on a tablet, I'll try it. If Sony does it, if Nintendo kind of already does with the Switch being handheld, but obviously it has a lack of power. But you know what? I'm excited for the future. I think everyone should be. I do want to stress, and I don't know why I actually have to stress this, because it's one of those common sense things. Your traditional box, your option to buy that $500 box, whether it be Sony, Nintendo, or Xbox, is going to be there. See, one of the biggest problems of people running for cover when this story broke is that they thought that this was it. You buy this and tough titty, right? No, Microsoft said, Phil Spencer said they're working on multiple SKUs, and what does that do? That gives us choice, options, right? Isn't 2018 the year of options? Isn't
exactly? Exactly. Well, you talk about physical hardware, right? When Phil said that we're working on multiple pieces of hardware, everyone started thinking it was like one of them was this streaming device, like a memory stick like type device you plug into your television, and what Scarlett is. I'm hearing actually that it's Scarlett and in like a mid-gen version of Scarlett.
Okay.
So anything cloud-based is this kind of separate own thing that it's not a relationship to what he said. So we'll see if that's true or not. But because that's just me relaying a rumor that keeps popping up from multiple sources from people I know. So I mean, it just shows that like if that's true, then they're committed to multiple pieces of hardware, and they realize there's just a different customer out there.
Yes, yeah. You have your casuals that will spend 100, or like if you put a streaming box for $99, it's gonna fly off the shelves. The diehard gamers like us, like the people in the chat, will probably try it, may double dip like I'm gonna do, but they're gonna go out and buy that big box that goes underneath their TV, that does their 4K Blu-ray player, and does everything that the HDR goodness that we all want, the 4K 60. That's what is going to sell. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that they're trying to appeal to multiple customers. But before we move on to the next topic, I just want to thank Jesse Darby in the chat for the $10 super chat. Dude, that is extremely generous of you. Thank you very much. But you know what? Like I said, I want to keep the show moving. So are you a gamer who was devastated with the closure of Telltale Games, and you unfortunately paid in full advance for The Walking Dead, the final season? Well, great. I have fantastic news for everybody like myself who did that. A new deal has been struck with Telltale and Skybound Games to see that the last 2 episodes of the game are going to be made. At New York Comic-Con that happened this weekend, on the Walking Dead panel, creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, announced that his studio, Skybound Games, would be taking over full development and publishing responsibilities for Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season. This is what he had to say. We've successfully negotiated with Telltale Games for our company Skybound to come in and see season 4 of Telltale Games to completion. Kirkman goes on to say to the audience, we can't lose Andrew Lincoln and Clementine in the same year. Now, this is, I'm a huge fan of the series, and I know a lot of people in the chat are. This is important. It's a big deal for the gamers who paid for the entire season up front, like myself. And you're going to get your money's worth, and it's not going to be done in a crummy way because Robert Kirkman is going to be involved with it. Predator, I want to go to you on this. How big a deal is Robert Kirkman getting up on stage and saying, "Don't worry, we got you"?
I think for the fans, especially like in your situation where you've already paid for it, and you want to play it, you've made that commitment that you wanted to play it a while back. And the people who have been waiting for it to come out that didn't even, commit to it the way you did, it's good for those guys, man. They're gonna get to finish the story out that they started. So I've never played the Walking Dead series. I'm not a Telltale Games fan, to be honest with you, but I'm glad you guys get your opportunities, man. I mean, for them to got it, and we always talk about like, oh, this person should pick this up, this person should pick this up, and so they can finish it out. And this guy steps on stage and does that. It's just, fan friendly for us, to finish that game. For him to come out and say they're going to complete it for us, so they didn't have to do that.
No, you know what? I think that it shows his dedication to the lore of him, because you got to remember Robert Kirkman is responsible for for what we all watch every Sunday. And I say we, I don't know if everyone watches it. My wife and I love it. We're huge fans of both series. They're going to make an announcement. I hear rumors that it's going to be a third show. I don't know what else they're going to tell, but I hear rumors that it might be a third show. So that's pretty. That's pretty interesting. But I'm going to say this: the thought of not seeing Clementine's story arc get wrapped up for fans like me, who saw her thrust into the Walking Dead universe, would have been a crime against humanity. So it's great to see that a somewhat happy ending, if there's going to be one. For one of 2018's most devastating studio closures. Don, I want to go to you because you obviously have your ear to the floor when it comes to gaming and inside baseball, behind the scenes stuff. How big of a deal do you think this is that Robert Kirkman himself says, hey, guess what, guys, you're going to get your money's worth and we're going to tell the story it was meant to tell?
I think what they're trying to do is scoop up that fan base that was for Telltale Games, and it's just strictly a business move. It seems very, very clinical in that sense, and I don't blame them for that. I mean, there is an audience for that. I think, as far as I'm concerned, the stuff that they've been working on it's not the same, but it's in the same vein. So they obviously share that customer base to a certain degree in regards to that. And so I think it's more about getting that goodwill of people who have been disappointed that they're gone, scooping up that customer base, earning their trust. And I think they can go about it in a much more responsible way, maybe doing their own IPs, things like that you don't have to pay crazy license out for.
Right. Yeah.
The few projects that I have worked on have been through licensed franchises. So, licensed franchises, they cost a lot of money. There's a reason a lot of times in the past that licensed franchise games haven't been the best, because they have to sometimes find some of the not as much of a talented people in the gaming world, that sort of thing, because they have to cut costs somewhere. And so that's a lot of the reason why that stuff is an issue. And so I think if you like those sort of games and you're looking forward to maybe something to continue to go down that lines, then you can go from there. That's the way I look at it. So,
yeah, who's to say that they don't continue telling the Walking Dead stories in that kind of a format if this goes well for Skybound, because they're obviously picking up the mantle that was dropped by the closure of Telltale. So this is a very interesting.
They want to pick up a lot of their staff too. Just you guys know. So they want to hire the people that have worked there.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually did not have that in the story, but I did read it. That's great on you, Don. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's just that's what I keep hearing. They want to hire people from there, so they're having those open conversations, and they want to get people on board, and they're trying to build up, I think, what Telltale was trying to build up, but I think Telltale was a byproduct of being an overnight success and not knowing how to handle it, kind of like Bluehole. If you kind of get where I'm going, this is like these are big fears of mine, just in my own professional career. If I either join a studio that has that overnight success, or my thing gets off the ground enough that I have overnight success, how do you manage that and scale for what just happened? And Telltale is a byproduct of not being able to scale up to their success. And how to manage it is really what it boils down to. I mean, there's other negative things behind the scenes with Telltale, but if you look at the most basic element wise, they just didn't know how to manage it.
Yep. So the person in charge of finances were overreaching, I think, and that's what got them into trouble. I mean, I'm not a finance guy, so I don't know. But if you're paying all this money for these big licenses, and you're doing too many at once, you kind of choke your bank account, so to speak. So I'm assuming it has something to do with that. mismanagement is the reason why that company failed.
Well, if you look at like a WB, right? So Warner Brothers obviously has all the partnerships with DC, and they're one and the same essentially, right? So
Yes.
so they don't have to pay a big licensing fee. They are that company.
Right.
So when they produce a game and they sell a bunch of toys, they're all getting that revenue regardless. They sell a game, they're getting the revenue. Movies made, they're getting the revenue. It's all coming to the same group of people. And so it's not like this weird sort of cut partnership sort of thing that you're dealing with license particular things. That's why it's always going to be an issue with like Marvel's going to be difficult. This is the uphill battle that Marvel still has in the gaming world is, well, unless they start making their own studios that are top notch, what do they do? It's going to be a lot of money, and there's a lot of risk involved in those franchises. I mean, you look at Star Wars and look at some of the business models they had to do. I mean, that was all planned out, I'm sure, with Disney and with EA in mind. No one acted without the other. But that's the only way they thought I'm sure they can make that return is how all that stuff works. So
yeah, well, it's very unfortunate, but there might be a silver lining at the end of this horror story where not only are the fans going to get the end of Clementine's tale, and that to me is the biggest part, but getting those folks that lost their jobs to get hired at Skybound is an even bigger deal because, you know, at the end of the day, folks, you know, it's all fun and games until someone can't feed their family. And that's what happened with all of the people. I think it was almost 200 employees at Telltale, and I'm hoping that that you know, at least Skybound picks up a good portion of them. And who's to say that with hiring them, you know, they're going to have the experience to tell these stories, that Skybound doesn't start to do their own Telltale type of, you know, storytelling titles in the future. But it's very interesting. I'm going to move on to the next topic, and it's a good one. This story was pulled from Game Rant, and this is what they had to say. The past few years have seen news on Borderlands 3 in the form of delays, tech demos from conferences, and reports of being absent from popular trade shows. Like, I expected them to be at E3, and they weren't, and I was very surprised. The rumors began to swirl once again, and news of a rumored launch window comes by the way of a video from the YouTube channel The Triple S League. Now, I've never heard of them, but the biggest takeaway from this video is that the two anonymous sources have confirmed the upcoming Borderlands 3 has begun localization process, which means that the game is being prepped in different languages to release for different countries. Going off the natural progression of video game development, localization is one of the final steps into completing the game. Now, the sources appear to be true. It seems like Borderlands 3's best chance of a release date announcement at a major conference could come at XO18. And I did read that on Reset Era that Borderlands 3 was going to be one of those third-party games that Phil Spencer was talking about. I think it's a big deal because the Borderlands series is fantastic. Don, what is your take on the possibility of Borderlands 3 finally getting some sort of a release window and even a trailer at XO18?
I'm not thoroughly convinced it's Borderlands 3.
Really?
Yeah. Here's the reason why, and like I'm just taking people's word of what's out there in the public. But Randy Pitchford, you know, the fearless leader of Gearbox, right? Yeah. Every time he keeps bringing it up, and obviously he's going to be in denial until the game comes out. I mean, that's what you do. Because especially when you have a publisher, there's certain things you just can't talk about. But he does very interesting wording. It's like he dodges the whole Borderlands 3. He doesn't dodge Borderlands, but a third is kind of the issue. That he always kind of dodges. Like, you know, we're interested in doing another Borderlands. I would love, you know, we are working something Borderlands related. And as soon as someone says the word 3, he shuts up. He doesn't say anything else.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of like, okay, is this another direction with Borderlands that they're possibly going, but that's being done by Gearbox. In regards to that, and I can't imagine the tone being the same too as well. They lost one of the things that makes Borderlands 2 so good is the writer that they got is ridiculous. His humor was perfect for that series. They lost that writer.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so going into whatever the game was prior to that, which people thought was a failure, but actually was successful, just wasn't as successful as other games in the same genre. Was that Battleborn or something like that? They lost that writer, so that's a big blow to them, and to find and kind of get that same recipe going into whatever the next Borderlands is. They are working on Borderlands. I just don't know if it's 3 or not.
You know, I have always thought that they were looking to do an MMO in the Borderlands world, something similar to Destiny, where it's, you know, you had your story-driven aspect, but you also had your PvP. I'm wondering, because you know you've mentioned it, and you know I never really noticed him dodge the 3 question. I have heard him say, "Yeah, we're working on a Borderlands project." I'm wondering if that is what they're eventually going to go to.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. Like that's one of the tropes that always people bring up is ones if it's an MMO or if it's open world. Like there's these taglines all gamers kind of use. Normally, I just kind of like roll my eyes, but an MMO in the Borderlands world actually sounds amazing.
It does,
because if you think about just the way they do storytelling, that's so unique. And if they're able to retain it, they're able to bring it back for whatever this next iteration is. And you look at the way how random weapons are dropped and the way that system works. Like, one of my things I hate about Destiny is when someone gets a gun or gets something like that, like, okay, there's a bunch of other people that have that same gear. If you take the whole Borderlands formula, you're going to have a bunch of people that don't have the same gear.
Right.
And if you can able to apply what they do with the guns, with just say armor or character costumes and all that sort of stuff, you got something pretty special. In regards to that, I would welcome that in a heartbeat for sure.
I'm gonna say this. Not only am I a huge Borderlands fan, but I really enjoyed my time with Destiny. I love Destiny 1, Destiny 2. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I really have not put enough time into the new content. Shame on me. Just there's really too many games. But if you're gonna tell me that I can get a Destiny type experience with Borderlands, where do I sign up right now? I think that would be amazing to play with others. I mean, even though there was 4-player co-op, the idea of having like big vault raids with like 6.
I didn't even think about that.
It'd be unbelievable. I mean,
well, it's also a different enough series where you have a lot of these MMO style games kind of popping up here and there.
Yes.
That I think it kind of carves its own niche out. Does that make sense? Where you see, even though Anthem's a third-person shooter and Destiny's a first-person, and people always take a side between those two already. They're not far enough apart from one another. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Because
but a Borderlands world, that's a totally different world.
Yes, it is. Really, really. Especially, but just for the graphics, the cell shading alone makes it its own identity.
The comical aspect of it. Like, imagine when you get into a party and, like the jokes that are there and you play off those jokes. Like, how many times when you get into a party with a group of friends, regardless of the MMO or not, you're out there to have a good time. So, you're joking around. Borderlands kind of feeds into that, and it can tap into something different there than the rest of these. So I like the idea of it. It's one of the few times you sold me on an idea there, Boom. So
well, listen. Hey, listen. If any developer is looking for a community manager, my DM is wide open, and I am looking for work. So I will come and travel.
I may need one someday, so you better watch out there.
I have a good vocabulary, and I think that people do dig me. But Predator, I want to go to you on this. Borderlands 3 has been, I think it's safe to say that most of the fan base has wanted a proper sequel to Borderlands 2. I mean, obviously, you know, we talked a little bit of Telltale in the prior topic, and if you've never played Telltale's Borderlands, my goodness, please go out and buy it right now. It is absolutely one of the best ones in their catalog of games. It was fantastic. But a couple of questions here for you, Pred. First, we heard Phil Spencer say that that third party was going to be there in full support, and obviously all the big third party games are done for 2018, pretty much. That Microsoft has marketing deals with other than Battlefield 5, so they're not going to show Battlefield 5 on XO. Is it possible that we do see some sort of a Borderlands announcement at XO18, and are you excited to see where they take the series next?
You know, I think I think it was earlier in the year before E3 they showed a little bit of Borderlands 3. Like, I don't know what conference it was at, but they were showing some screenshots, and I guess they were talking, I don't know if they're talking about ray tracing or what, but they're showing Borderlands in there with it. I can't remember what this article was, but
it was new shading techniques. It was at GDC.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, they're obviously working on the game. I would not be surprised if they don't have something announced there for it. But I want to spin on Don's tactic here a minute ago. He said he doesn't think that's the game. He might be right. I mean, like, it could be another bigger announcement than that. They have other games under their belt too. You know,
they do. You're right. You are correct.
It could be Brothers in Arms. You know, it could be something on that level. I mean, so I don't know how far off they are from.
They have confirmed that they're working on Borderlands.
Yes.
So like we can just take him at his word. It's confirmed Borderlands, and he's being dodgy about 3. That's all he's saying. So,
so it's probably maybe it's like a prequel or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the MMO thing like almost kind of makes sense. To be honest with you.
Well, I mean, look, you have to think of it like this. You take Borderlands 1, and it was an amazing first, new IP, right? And then Borderlands 2 comes out, and it's bigger and better in every way. You know, the 4-player co-op was fully realized. It was an amazing time to be able to hang out with your friends and take on these big, humongous bosses. And then they had the prequel come out. It did not do that well. I played it. It's okay. I played it because I'm a fan of the series, so I didn't want to not play it. But I think the MMO factor here, even though I just said it, I think that there's some grounds to it, because you have to do better than what you did in 2. 2 came out, several years ago. So if you're going to come out with a 3 or a new Borderlands game at all, it's going to have to be bigger and better in every way. And I think that the Destiny model is in my opinion, the way to go.
I mean, there's a puzzle piece that fits there, I would say, with those two. But
Microsoft's buying Gearbox is confirmed.
Well, if they bought Gearbox, they wouldn't own their franchise. They would have to buy the franchise from 2K.
2K, I think
owns the publishing rights on all that stuff. So it's possible. I mean, anything's possible with the right negotiation and money.
I was joking, by the way, but
I don't want to get people's hopes up or anything like that. But like that, I think it's possible. But I would just say it was a big reach, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, look, the end of the day, money does talk, and we've seen stranger things happen. So who's to say? But I'm extremely interested to see where they take the series next. I'm hoping, and again, listen, this is just for me, okay? Being an Xbox first kind of a gamer, and I admit that publicly, I am so excited for XO18, and if I'm disappointed, then it's going to be shame on Boom, and I get it. But I'm expecting big bombs to be dropped there. Phil Spencer is going to be there, and he would not be traveling to Mexico City and bringing back XO if there wasn't some substance to it. So I'll leave it at that. But I just kind of want to go on to the next topic. Red Dead Redemption 2 featured in an unusual Call of Juarez teaser trailer. Now, obviously, the hype surrounding Red Dead Redemption 2 continues to grow for both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. as the release date gets closer. I think we're just 2 weeks away now. But this is where it gets a little wild. Techland Games, who developed Call of Juarez Gunslinger, which was a fantastic, very underrated game, published a video in the game, published a video with the game's main character, Silas Grievous, addressing Morgan, who is the main character in, obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2. And it says this: "The Old West is full of legends, and you, Arthur Morgan, soon will be one of the greatest, I'm sure." Grievous says in a video, "Because legends, you know, never die. They change to come back stronger than ever." Now, it's unclear what the bigger meaning of Call of Juarez Gunslinger's video is about, but there's a couple of questions here. First and foremost, and I'm going to go to you first, Predator, on this. Are you excited for Red Dead Redemption 2, and how awesome would it be for Techland Games to add their character, Silas Grievous, into the actual Red Dead Redemption 2 and offer some sort of like a side mission?
I think it's possible. I mean, I've already pre-ordered Red Dead. It's one of the few games I pre-ordered this year.
Me too. Yes, I bought the $100 edition. I know it's stupid, but
I didn't ball out like that. But I did pre-order it. It's been sitting here looking at me like I'm staring at it like, hurry the fuck up. But I'm excited for it. And I played the original Red Dead, and I never played Call of Juarez. It was before my.
It's fantastic. It's really good. Really, really good.
And I think it was on back and pad, or maybe
I think it is. Yes.
And I've never touched it. I never played it. You know, I can't go back into old games like that I never touched before. But, I mean, you see that a lot now, like these mashups where they bring in characters from other games, or, you know, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't throw them in there, maybe as a playable character or something like that for their DLC or something.
Yeah,
wouldn't be a surprise.
It's listen. I'll put it to this way: the game's Facebook page added a banner of Silas Grievous with the tagline "Legends Never Die." Another image on the page shows Grievous standing over the same canyon seen in the Red Dead Redemption 2 video. So I mean, there's got to be something to this. Don, you obviously, like I said, you have your ear to the floor. You know, companies do work with one another. Obviously, Call of Juarez may not be widely known, but the character was really cool. Do you see that? You know, Red Dead.
Was Call of Juarez kind of the one before Red Dead, like before they bought out the franchise to use?
You know what? I honestly don't
think it
know.
is.
It might be,
because I know that's the history of Red Dead. Like originally,
yes.
the universe was kind of owned by somebody else.
I'm thinking Red Dead Revolver. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, Capcom did Red Dead Revolver. The original.
Well, it was some game, and then that's what I think this is. I'm not sure. If that's the case, technically, there's no hoops they have to go through. They own the property. In regards to that, so I don't know. I have to take a look. It's the cowboy with like the big scar on his face, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I believe that is the genesis to Red Dead Redemption, if I remember correctly. And if that's the case, if I'm not getting my lines crossed here, basically Rockstar owns the rights to that, anyways.
You know, I'm gonna say this: the ideology that a character from another game, from another company, could find its way into what's going to be the biggest game of 2018. I mean, it's going to. I think that at this point, it's safe to say that it's going to break sales records that have never been broken before. I think it has the potential. Again, this is my opinion, and you know, take it with a grain of salt, to outpace any Call of Duty numbers before it. But we'll see. Only time is going to tell. I'm excited. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we move on to the next topic?
Nah.
Okay. Well, listen. Pred and I were talking about this pregame, and we're going to talk about it now for everyone in the chat and whoever's listening to hear about. Assassin's Creed Odyssey launch sales set new record for the current generation. And this story was, again, pulled from Gaming Bolt. And this is what they had to say. Assassin's Creed continues its strong comeback initiated with the excellent Assassin's Creed Origins last year. And of course, now you have the better version, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Ubisoft announced today in a press release that the game's launch sales have set a new record in the series for this generation. And I think that is really a big deal because I know Don said you were not interested in the game because you're like, it looks a little bit of the same. And, I'll get your opinion. But Predator, I want to go to you first on this. You've been playing the hell out of it like me. I'm 50 plus hours in. I just hit level 26 this morning, I think. And I can literally not stop playing this game. And like The Witcher 3, I find myself going to a particular point in the map that I lock on. It's a mission, and there are 17 other things to do. And even though I'm enjoying it, it's driving me crazy because it's pulling me further and further away from actually finishing the story. So far, what is your take on what you've played with Assassin's Creed? And is it good for the series that it broke records?
Yeah, because it's funny when they announced Odyssey, the first thing that came to my mind was, I hope they're not going to go back to this whole yearly Assassin's Creed thing again, where it's like overkill. There's so many Assassin's Creeds out there. They all have the same mechanics. They all look like it's like a cookie cutter of the other one. They just put it in a new background setting. So, this one is actually good. I think Ubisoft has already come out and said they're not going to do a yearly thing like they're doing.
Right. Next year, they're taking a break for 2019. Yes.
Yeah. So, and it just built off of Origins and made and Odyssey is much better than Origins in my opinion.
Yes. Absolutely.
I love it. I love the mechanics of it. I love the. I got tired of like when in Origins, like your special was the same move, unless you change weapons or something like that. But like it only had so many different moves you can do. And this one, you can actually assign different special.
Yes, you certainly can. A new change for the series.
Yeah. And, the RPG part, I'm not really keen on, but I get it. You make decisions, they affect you later on. And like, it's not taking anything away from the game. That's one of the first things I noticed, like, why are they giving me options here? Usually the dialogue just goes through and I just have to figure out, just go from there, where now it's like, you could actually choose to not help somebody, or you can say something to them and their, the reaction that you give will determine, what happens later on in the game. So, so I'm getting used to the RPG elements of it. My favorite Assassin's Creed was the original. I love that era at the time too, but this one is really, really good. It's probably, by the time I finish it, I'll probably be able to say this is my favorite one so far. But I don't remember the other part of your question.
What I was saying is that do you think that the breaking of sales records is good for Ubisoft and shows that the brand isn't like, long in the tooth, if you will?
Yeah, it is. But Ubisoft does this, it seems like, with all their games. Like they come out with a game and it's like the hype, like Ghost Recon when it came out, the Division when it came out, and it's like, oh, it breaks these records. It's the best-selling Division, first party game ever. And they announce all this metrics and stuff like that, and then it just falls off a cliff. So like, but it brings more steam to them. I mean, like, in the past, Ubisoft was pretty much known for downgrading every game they came out with. So I can't really tell you that this game isn't the best looking game I've seen on the X. I mean, it's really good looking.
Well, I did a video the night that it came out. I stayed up past midnight, and I did a small little, I think it was 1 minute and 54 seconds of me just climbing to the top of a golden statue, and they did the panoramic view with the eagle where it shows everything. And crazily enough, and I haven't had a lot of success this big. 27,000 people viewed that video, which is bananas to me because, again, my channel is tiny. So that is a big deal. I'm going to say this. I'm a fan of the series. That's the end of the story. I pretty much love all of them. The only one I didn't like is the one that what the hell was it named? The one that launched broken with oh my God, it was before the brother and sister
it's
one.
The French one, right?
Yes, the one with the French Revolution. I did not like that at all. Did
you like it after they fixed it?
I tried to play it, dude, and I just couldn't get into it. I'm going to be honest with you. The next one with the brother and sister in the steampunk kind of era was one of my favorites. But
it's weird because the French one had the best parkour out of all of them.
And I
Like,
did not like that for some reason. It's the strangest thing. Who's to say? But I'm going to say this.
That's fine.
If you are an Assassin's Creed fan, if you think that maybe Origins wasn't for you, I am telling you that Odyssey ups the ante on everything. Map size, RPG element. There's there's talking points in there where your decisions do come back to haunt you, very similar to Mass Effect series. The talking points, you're given choices, your dialogue that you pick will haunt you if you decide to be like a jerk. It will come back to eventually haunt you. I think that is awesome. I think that the what Predator was referring to in regards to your supers, you can assign different ones. And I think that really adds like every person's character is going to be different. And the other thing that doesn't get mentioned a lot, there are two characters to choose from. You can pick either the brother or the sister, and the story really does change based on who you pick. So, Don, I know that you said that you weren't interested. Is there any chance of what we're talking about now, even if you wait for a sale, are you considering now picking up Odyssey?
Man, there's two things working against it. There's my initial impressions, which obviously can be wrong, right? I'm judging my interest in a product, and there's times that I've just interested in a product and played the game and really enjoyed the game. So I'm not opposed to that. I think the big thing that does work against me is time.
Yeah.
There's so many, like when I look at an Assassin's Creed now. Like the deterrent is like, okay, I know it's a good experience. Let's say I take everybody at their word. How much time do I have to dedicate to this game? And it's competing in that space, which is competing for my time. So that's the only deterrent from that, to be totally honest with you.
I'm going to say this. The game is big. I mean, like ridiculously big. To the point of it's Witcher 3 big. It might even be bigger. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to scare anyone away from it. I'm being serious. Like I'm loving it. The ship battles are back from Assassin's Creed 4. I'm loving it. I think that it's a real. It just adds. There's literally just so much to do. If you like open world games that give you a map of millions of things to do and things to discover, this is right up your alley. But Don, I think you hit the nail on the head. Time is a factor, because I'm going to say this. I don't think I'm going to be able to play this and Red Dead Redemption 2 at the same time. I really think that that's really asking a lot for a gamer, especially when the control is going to be totally different.
Yeah, and the way I also look at it is I look at, like, everyone uses Destiny, but Destiny was this game that sucked up a lot of my time early in this generation, and I was totally okay with it because there was not a lot of other games out there to distract me at the time when the first one came out. And when the second one came out, even though I have gripes about certain changes they made, and there's things I like about the first one better than the second, the thing that Destiny 2 didn't keep me continuously involved with, because now there's all these additional games. And so I look at games differently.
Overwhelmingly too many games.
Yeah, and I'm not going to complain about it. I'd rather have too many games than not enough, right?
Oh, I agree 100%.
So I'm not worried about that. I would honestly just say, for me, if I can carve out some blank time, I'll definitely give it a shot. But I look at them like, man, I got Anthem coming up. I'm one of the few people is interested in Crackdown. I think the replay value.
Me too. I'm right there with you, brother.
Gonna be like, I'm looking for a crew of 4 to roll through the campaign. So
sign me up, dude. Boom. Yes, I'm in. That was one of my favorite. I loved Crackdown 1. I even liked Crackdown 2. And what I didn't like
2. That's what makes this one so bitter. Like, it makes it hard for me to, every time I hear about a delay rumor, it hurt. Like, some people don't care about the game. I get it.
Yeah, me too.
I do. I've wanted a good Crackdown game since Crackdown 1, and Crackdown 2 didn't take care of that itch.
It halfway through it fell off a cliff. Let's call a spade a spade. It really did. I enjoyed it, but just because I'm a Crackdown fan, I powered through it.
Yeah, and I've been just as excited since the day that Phil was on Jimmy Fallon and wore a Crackdown shirt. I'm like,
I love that stuff.
I've been excited for that game. So for me, like I'm looking at these games and I'm interested to pique my interest, right? And then I'm like, okay, what can I fill in between those? Because these are my pillars of the games I'm going to be investing my time in. Because like Forza, actually, I don't think Forza Horizon 4 is as big as people say it is, but we'll see when you can do your own tracks. But Forza Horizon 4, I was expecting that to take a lot more time than it has been, and I really kind of blew through it pretty quickly.
Okay.
So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm not opposed to the game. I don't think it's a bad game. I'm glad to hear everyone go from this looks like a rehash to this is the best Assassin's Creed. And it really is a byproduct, because every single one of their last two Assassin's Creeds, including this one, was on a 3-year development cycle. So when people say they're taking a break, no, they're not taking a break. They're on 3-year production cycles.
Right. They have to skip a year.
Yeah. So I would imagine when we get whatever the next one is, not 20, what is 29? We're not going to get our 2019. So 2020,
yeah.
We're going to get a 2021 release as well. And that's just because that's where those teams, that's the cycle they're in, being 3 years and being 2 teams. That's what's going to end up happening. So
yes, well, I'm calling for it right now. Remember this date, folks. BoomStick said it first, and I've been wrong, and I publicly apologize for my shenanigans. But I'm going to go out on a ledge here, and I'm going to jump off. Assassin's Creed Feudal Japan. That's it. I put it in, locked in. End of story. Okay. Before I move on to what I also want to talk about, and this is going to be interesting, I want to give a shout out to the Indie Gamer for the $4 super chat. He says, just supporting an awesome channel and a charity. Dude, I really do appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. I'm very happy that I do put on a good show and that people are here actually to listen to it. So that's really cool. But keeping with Assassin's Creed, and you know what? This is funny. This is a funny story, and I guarantee you there isn't one person in the chat that knows this. Ubisoft doesn't tell you it. There's nowhere that they say, hey, go over here. Did you know there's a storage box for your gear aboard your ship in Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Well, but guess what, folks? I didn't, and I'm 50 hours in, okay? Where you start out on the ship, if you warp to the ship, turn around, there's a box behind you. You can put all of your unwanted gear, like all that blue Ubisoft Club gear that you can't dismantle. You can put it in there, so you're not walking around with it, and it just makes it easier to go through what new items you have.
Is that the only hub for that?
As far as I know, then this story comes to us from Reddit, and the user is Trinog86. He pointed this out, and this is what he had to say. He goes, I discovered this an hour ago after being 30 hours into the game. I was on my ship and at the stern, and I was like, oh, a box. What's in it? Then he happily realized there was nothing in it, and he was able to store all of his unwanted gear. So that to me is funny. I mean, if you guys want to comment on it, please, by all means. But I'm 50 hours in, and I did not know that.
I didn't know it until I got the message, and I still haven't gone to look. I'm actually playing right now, so I'm gonna go check it out real quick.
yeah, it's fun. Again, it's one of those things. Like, why wouldn't you have that available to like somewhere in the tutorial? Like, hey, your equipment goes here. I don't know.
So you're saying the game is so big they forgot about a feature?
You know what? It is very possible. So that to me that is absolutely hilarious. But you know what?
It's one of those gee whiz things.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. Someone posted this a couple of weeks ago. Like, I never knew that on the original Duck Hunt, the second controller can control. I never knew that.
Me either. I saw the same story. Yes.
You didn't know that?
No.
Growing up? Oh, man.
Nope, not at all.
I loved it because you were able to troll your buddy that was shooting the light gun. Because what I would do is I would create a pattern, so you'd be like, all right, cool, and then next thing you know, then I would beeline it the other direction, and then he would lose his aim. It was great.
That's funny and terrible at the same time.
Yeah, it was a good time. You do definitely troll your buddy.
Well, listen, I think your buddy might still hate you to this day. I would check in on him and make sure he doesn't send you hate mail for that.
Yeah, well, he is on my phone, so I think occasionally when I text him, I send him that little dog laughing.
That's hilarious. That is funny. But I want to move on to the next topic. And you know what? I want to go back to Rockstar. And this story that I pulled comes from Rockstar Intel. And they're claiming a rumor. And again, grain of salt, folks. Okay, this is not locked in because BoomStick said it. This is a complete rumor. Casting calls for Bully 2 may have just been released. And this is what they say in the story. We have reason to believe that casting calls related to Rockstar Games' upcoming title, Bully 2, have been released by a casting director who is not disclosing much information about the title or developer, and that's as expected. There are 7 casting calls for a new unannounced video game title with a leading UK games developer shooting at Pinewood Studios. Now we know that Pinewood Studios is where GTA is famously been, was made, and and so that's interesting. The casting calls are mainly for teenage and young roles and involve placeholder names for the characters. The casting call actually provides a warning and some vague details about the project, and this is what it says. Mild violence and profanity will be used in scenes with the younger performer. The project itself is a thriller drama, and all scenes with the younger performer will be handled with sensitivity. Now, I want to go to you on this, Don. I know we get you being in the business. You see stuff like this all the time. But
yes.
Bully 2 has been rumored for quite some time. And this, even though it's not a confirmation from Rockstar, I am going to say this. If you're unfamiliar with Rockstar Intel, check those dudes out because they are 100% legit. Their stories, they don't report on nonsense. When they say it's Rockstar Intel, they really go out of their way to get the correct information. So that's why I think there's some credibility to this. Do you think that this sheds the light on Bully 2 possibly coming in the next generation?
I don't know if I would call things next generation anymore, right? Like, because
you're right.
We're in that undiscovered territory where we're really starting to figure out what these companies have planned. But that being said, do I think it's in progress? Yeah, I don't get this feeling that Rockstar lets their franchises die. They have enough stuff that they can play around with. That what they do is they take their time on the next project that's huge and they move on to the other.
Right.
And they have plenty to work with on all that sort of stuff. So that being said, I think this is a thing. And I think whatever they've been thinking about it for a long time. So they know they own their franchise, and I would say it would be a big improvement. So I'm excited for what they're going to do. I'm now starting to get to the point where I'm getting excited for Rockstar Games. I never have been, to be honest with you, previously.
Okay.
I just never felt like their worlds were filled out enough, and the open world element never really drew me in. But their games are starting to get that density that I think I need to pull me in. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. And even if I don't like it, to be honest with you, it's always an event when Rockstar releases a game. It's a big deal. So
it certainly is. You know what? They're one of the few companies that when you hear rumblings of a new game, you really start, for me anyway, I start to get hyped. But before I get to you, Pred, I just want to read one other caption from the article. The motion capture acting roles for Bully 2 have been long leaked and we're all anticipating that the game is going to be here. This was even mentioned by former Rockstar insider Yan 2295, and he says that this would be the next title from Rockstar Games after the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. And that's, that this is a double-edged sword here. Because I'm sure Bully 2 is going to be fantastic, but if they're making Bully 2, that means that GTA 6 is not going to be made until Bully 2, is going to be out in the wild. Predator, for you, what would you rather see? Would you rather see them continue the story and make Bully 2, or would you rather see, which everyone I think would probably agree, Grand Theft Auto 6?
I think just You know, with the success of Grand Theft Auto 5, I mean, I don't even know if they even need to release a 6 right now. It's still like in the top 10 of the NPDs every month. So I mean, I could see them going bully next. I think it will make sense considering the success of GTA 5. And all it takes is for them to update something in GTA 5, just like put it in 4K. People will go out and buy it again. So like, I mean, I don't think they've done the 4K update for that game yet, have they?
Yeah, you know what? I don't
I don't
think
think
that
they
I
have,
don't
because it
think that
was
they have.
last gen's game.
Yeah.
And then I mean, they could probably, and I hate to say this, they could probably get away with a remastered condition in 4K with all the bells and whistles on it and still make money, and it will still probably show up in the damn top 10 MPDs.
I say this all the time, and maybe the joke is getting old, and I don't care because I'm going to say it again. Everyone in the chat right now bought 3 copies, and you didn't even know it. I'm telling you. I have it on the PlayStation 4, I have it on the Xbox 360, and I have the Xbox One version. So I bought 3 copies. So shame on me.
It blows my mind. Very rarely I see one of my friends list ever play it. I've never bought a copy myself, but obviously they're the MPD almost every month. It's doesn't make any sense to me.
Listen, I don't. They broke 100 million copies sold. It's just I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, they confirmed that it's broke 100,000 100 million copies sold. That is, when you say it out loud, 100 million copies of a game, it's ridiculous. But they did it, and guess what? Grand Theft Auto 5 is really a fantastic title. If you haven't played it, and they don't need my backing because I'm just a little boomstick here, go buy the game because it's worth your money. I really enjoyed it. I was sad that I couldn't move my save from the 360 to the Xbox One, and I had to restart it, but I restarted it anyway, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But if no one else has anything else to talk about the possibility of Bully 2 releasing. If you don't know, the Xbox One October update is available. That includes new avatars, Dolby Vision, and Alexa support. And I finally, obviously, Microsoft, and I want to read what they had to say directly from the Xbox Wire. Microsoft is releasing a significant dashboard update for the Xbox One today. That was actually yesterday. The new October 2018 update for Xbox brings Microsoft's new diverse avatars, Dolby Vision support for Netflix, and Alexa skill to control your console with an Echo device. After more than a year of testing, the new Xbox Live avatars will begin appearing across the Xbox dashboard today. The new avatars will appear in profiles, activity feed posts, friend blocks on home screens and elsewhere. They're fully customizable to be as diverse as possible, and there's even a new store to purchase additional cosmetic items for those avatars. And I kind of want to talk about that for a second. And this is as excited as I am, which I did. I designed my new avatar. I'm going to take a picture of it. I'm going to post it on Twitter. It really does look like me. It's almost creepy. Here's my problem. Okay, they do give you some free stuff. You go to what's free. I think there's a Gear of War beret. There's a Gear shirt with the 2 Lancers crashing against one another. But there's not really that much. Now, in the old Avatar days, I bought a ton of shit. I'm going to be honest with you. I was that guy that bought the Captain America suit, that bought the Iron Man suit, that bought the Gene Simmons suit. I have about 50 outfits. So, in my excitement, I was like, well, let me go to my outfits because I want to dress like Gene Simmons today. I'm in a Kiss kind of a mood. Guess what? It tells me, hey, bud, sorry, your closet's looking a little empty. Why don't you go to the Avatar store and buy some stuff? I'm like, well, wait a second. I already purchased all this shit. Are you kidding me? So, yes, I'm excited for the new avatars. And yes, I can keep my old avatar, but I don't want to. I want to be involved in this party, and I want to, have the new avatar with my old clothes. Apparently, that is not an option.
That is a ridiculous amount of work to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
So like it really is. It's like I don't know. I don't think that's even a possibility there. Boom.
You know what? I am going to say this. You are 1,000% correct, and that would be hard to do. But if they have those items in the new Avatar store, because they have all of my information is there, and I've purchased the Captain America outfit, and the Gene Simmons outfit, and the Iron Man outfit, and the Star Wars Battlefront outfit, and Darth Vader and Boba Fett. I mean, I even got a Steelers jersey in the other one, for crying out loud, right? Those should be free if you go to look into the store. Like if I see a Gene Simmons outfit, I shouldn't have to pay $5 when I bought it for the old one.
Do you think that's a little bit like, it's compared to a game, but do you think that's like, when you do a microtransaction, you buy whatever kit for that game and you get a sequel? Do you feel like that all that stuff you purchased in the previous game should be in the sequel?
You know what? I would say absolutely not. I would say you're right on that. Once again, Don, I would not expect to get the same DLC. But
on this, it's different for you, right?
It's right. It's different. Damn it, I want my Gene Simmons outfit. Okay,
we're just being genuine about it, right?
No. It's. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
I did it. I made a new pose. I actually picked the superhero one with the city background. I'm kind of in like a saluting flying position. I thought it looked dope. So that's my new avatar picture. Check it out, MrBooMStickXL on Xbox Live. Shameless plug. But Don, being that you and I were going back and forth, I mean, have you downloaded the new update, and are you going to take advantage of the new avatar system, or are you just going to keep with the old one?
Well, I played my Xbox late last night, and I did not have the update, so I haven't.
I actually had to go in and download it. I had to look for it. Actually, go into options and hit the update system.
Oh, it may be sitting there in the queue, ready to go. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I forget about that. That being said, I've seen a lot of other people doing it, and I would say the one option that I really want is not there, which is a cell shaded feature. And here's the reason why I said,
oh, yeah.
Hear me out. So every time when someone makes their little icon, they look at their character they've spent all this time on, and it just doesn't really show up. Does that make sense? It just kind of
does. Absolutely.
It's in the background. Part of that is because there's literally little to no pop to those things when you shrink down that image, right? So a good way from a graphic design standpoint is do more, less is more, like a true cell shaded thing. So if you're able to zoom in, do your character, do whatever avatar that you want, boom, you're good to go. And then let's take it something even further. Let's take, how like we're able to add our own backgrounds or own icons already. Why not be able to import your own images for your own background behind your avatar?
Now that's smart. Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
So that's what I think it's missing. Like it's got that personal touch, but it doesn't. It seems clinical, and it doesn't seem like the stuff stands out. It looks good when you're looking at it by itself, but I don't know why someone did not think of these things, because like applying a different shader to those avatars actually not that difficult. That actually is going to take very little work for them to do. So I really feel like that should be another option thrown out there.
No, listen, what you're saying makes perfect sense, and I would love to be able to put my own background picture in there, because instead of, and then what they offer, they have nice ones, they really do. So I definitely encourage you going to check it out. But at the same time, it would be kind of cool to kind of be able to kind of just import a picture and put it in the background. Predator, I want to go to you next on this, dude. First, did you know about the update? Second, are you going to download it? And third, are you going to take advantage of the new avatar system, or you don't give a shit?
I've actually been in the preview program, so I've got my avatar already made. I'll answer the third question. I don't really give a shit, because you don't really see them, like, oh, look, my avatar, cool. I had J-Dubs make a graphic for me, and I was using that for the longest, and I was perfectly fine with that. But it's just, even when I was able to upload my photos, when I did it that way, like, I mean, I'd rather just do that. My avatar, it'd be different if I was using it in game.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But at this point, it's just like it's whatever. I mean, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, what the fuck ever. It doesn't affect me at all. I don't really care. I don't go to anybody's profile like, look at that cool avatar. That's awesome. Like I have more like when I see people's gamer pics that they created, like I said, J-Dubs created mine. So like when I see other people's gamer pics, I'm more inclined to look at that than I am to look at just their avatar with the RC car running around them and shit like that. I don't really care about that shit. Some people do, but again, if I was using that stuff in game, like we're playing poker, I think Mooch mentioned that last night. Or
yes, that would be a lot of fun. I would be totally into that.
If they have specific games that use your avatars, I would be more inclined to actually create one that I would use all the time, like a kart racer or something like that.
That's why they built them in Unity, just so you guys know,
so they can make games out of them.
So like, I'm sure the thought process will tap into that indie community that uses Unity, and Unity is one of the more popular for the indie crowd. So it's either that or you build it in Unreal. So Unity has less overhead, and they're able to just kind of build it in that, and then people can do with what they may.
Or better yet, how about in Sea of Thieves? Let me make a character in that.
Dude, that would be dope. Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
But another thing I don't like, and I thought about this right as Don was talking, like if I buy a game, like even if it's like a standard edition, give me some of those little quirks and stuff that go with my character. Like I should be able to get a download code. Like if I get Call of Duty, I should be able to get a download code for like a gunslinger outfit or something like that.
I got good news for you. It's already happening.
Yeah,
that's great.
Good. I mean,
so when I played Tomb Raider, it prompted me for it, and I didn't have access to it because the avatars didn't hit the mainstream yet. So I got some sort of Tomb Raider thing. I haven't got a chance to look at it, but I did get prompts from Xbox. Hey, you bought such and such a game pre-order. This is a little bonus. Here you go.
That's dope. I like that. That's a great idea. I just have to. I had to step away from the mic for a second. DJ Singh in the chat says, I tried my avatar, started it, and it looked like a drag queen, so I passed. That is sad, man. I'm sorry that you had a bad experience. We certainly don't want any drag queen avatars, especially if that's not what you're looking for. But yeah, dude, that's really good, because I actually, Pred, I was going to touch on that before you said it. I think that would be a good way to give that little extra something, that little bit of a bonus. Like, hey, you bought Tomb Raider on the Xbox, great on you because it looks better on the X anyway. But as a consolation prize, here's an outfit for you can use on your avatar. I think that is a real fan service, in my opinion.
Do you think that also keeps people engaged in their ecosystem?
100%. I mean, I'm not. Look, here's the thing: if a game looks better on another console and they're offering nothing but the game and the better looking game, right? Like for instance, I bought a game on the PlayStation 4 and it for some reason was better. I don't think it would change my mentality. Well, not from me per se, but because I'm an Xbox first guy. But I don't think it would change, customer A.
The thing is, it's small gains, right? Like, so you think about, okay, it's your achievements. Hey, your other games are there. Your other games can carry over. That's why I kind of bring it up that way. Is if they give you these little rewards, you're invested that much more into their ecosystem. So when you buy a game, and let's say these companies stagger their next consoles, right? And you plan on buying the next PlayStation and the next Xbox. Well, you kind of have to look at everything you're given, and you're like, do I just buy it on the Xbox now, wait it out until next year? Then I get the better variant of it, and I get all this extra stuff. That's how they try to win you over, right? That's to try to continue to be invested in their ecosystem. Is the general idea. So,
well, you know what? I agree. I definitely agree with you. I agree with Predator. I think that what he said was, and I'm glad you clarified that, because that is, you know what? I have Tomb Raider and I didn't get prompted for Avatar stuff. So I'm definitely gonna look into that. But I want to move on to the next topic, and this one we talked about it, and shame as a host that I didn't segue into this because it would have been perfect. Crackdown 3 release date quietly delayed. New release date, according to the Microsoft Store, says February 28th, 2018. This story was pulled from a website called TNM. According to what they're saying, Crackdown 3's release date was quietly delayed. Our attention was brought to by the Microsoft listing of the game on their online store. Previously, the game was listed for a February 22nd, 2019 release, but was recently just changed to the 28th. Now, I'm done. I'm going to have to go to you right away on this. What does this mean? And is there room for concern, or is Microsoft just attempting to get the hell out of the way of Anthem, Days Gone, and Metro Exodus?
I don't know. I don't know I don't know if it's lines crossed or them trying to be a little more tactful with their own game as far as that goes. But the weird thing is, Phil openly admitted, "Hey, we didn't know a bunch of games were going to release the exact same time as our game at E3." And then now things have changed, and then there was a miscommunication with people in marketing, thinking that it didn't have a different date. So it's really hard. I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I think they changed the release day window, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the game. I think
not for a week, dude. Not for a week.
Yeah, it has everything to do with just the launch window when you're doing something like that. So.
I mean, look, you said it before. I'm going to reiterate what you said before. I cannot wait for Crackdown. And what I'm there's a couple of things I'm looking for. Maybe I'm overreaching here as a fanboy of that particular series. One, I really wanted a special edition controller, but they're not going to make it because this game has so much shade on it. It's ridiculous. I would have loved because I don't know if you've seen the Xbox Pope's design for the Crackdown 3 controller. It was dope. It was a while back, but it was fantastic. I would buy that. I would definitely go out and buy. I bought the Sea of Thieves controller, and I don't even like Sea of Thieves, but I like the controller. So I would definitely did that. And again, guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I like. No, let me change that. I love collector's editions. I really do. It's my thing, right? So I would have really been very happy to drop down $130 on a collector's edition that came with the steel box, extra DLC, season pass, and oh, by the way, it comes with a statue of the. It could have been Terry Crews. I would gladly put him on my shelf, no problem. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. We're going to get Crackdown 3. I think Microsoft just wants to get out from this 800-pound gorilla and just put it out there. Pred, you're laughing, but it's the truth. Do you think that 1 week matters? And is this just another more egg thrown at this game?
And for some reason, I always thought they never really gave a release date in the first place. I thought they just said February. They never put a date on it. And everyone just assumed it was coming out the same week as those other 3 games that are coming out. I think it's the 19th maybe. Days Gone and something else.
Yeah, you have Anthem, Days Gone, and Metro Exodus.
Metro Exodus, and everybody assumed it was coming out that day as well. I have to look at the E3 thing again. But
look at the Giant Bomb interview with Phil.
Did he say that he gave a specific date in that interview?
Yeah, they talked specifically about releasing around this at the exact same time.
Okay. I'll look at that. But I remember at E3, I don't think they gave a release date. I thought that they said February 20. And maybe Phil jumped the gun with his date. But even when I look it up online, it's still like, even though Wikipedia really isn't a good source, but it says February 2019.
Yeah, you just got to know where to look. That's all it is, right? So
I'm going to look at the E3
Yeah,
thing
cross-reference the Giant Bomb interview he did at E3.
Yeah, this past E3, it was a good interview. It was a great interview.
It was a good interview, yeah.
But even if that was the case and that was the original date, I don't think pushing it back a week is going to hurt it that much. It's already been damaged anyway.
Yeah.
So if anything, I would have tried to push it up, but I think Phil recently said this week, or maybe it was late last week, that it still needed some work. So that's not a good sign either. So
games need work up until like the month before they go gold, right? So
they were probably better off moving it anyway with everything else coming out that week. I think somebody needed to move it. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else moves as well. Days Gone may get pushed back. Maybe the launch with Crackdown the same week Crackdown's launching. I don't. I understand what you were saying a while ago. Like they didn't know all these other games are coming out because February usually isn't a month where games come out. So they tried to put it in a safe spot.
And then who knew? And who knew that the three behemoths would be coming out?
Yeah, you know. And as soon as everybody heard that, I remember everybody's like, "Okay, damn, that's a lot of games in February." You know, like that's not normal for a gaming. For a game to release in February like that. Now we got 3 of them releasing. Usually February and March are like a safe spot for brand new franchises, you know. But
yeah, you're 100% right.
With those 3 guys launching on that same date and within the same month, Crackdown. I mean, it's just going to be, you know, after I guess November, you know, we get a little break. I guess we can kind of take a break and not buy anything for a while until February comes out. So.
Well, you know what? Look, I just have to give Merrill Films a shout out in the chat. He says, and I remember this, Microsoft's Twitter account announced the date for February 22nd, and then they quickly deleted it later. So I don't know. Listen, I'm excited for the game, and I would, like I said, would gladly purchase the game. I really would if it had a big old collector's edition added to it. But you know what? I think we've beat this horse to death, and I want to keep within the Microsoft family. Forza Horizon 4 is the fastest selling game in the series so far, and this is coming out from and being reported by GameIndustry.biz, and this is what they had to say. Forza Horizon 4 is off to a strong start with regards to sales. To begin with, last week's United Kingdom chart by GfK Chart Track, and it says that they have it listed in the top 10, sees Forza Horizon 4 performing better than 2016's Forza Horizon 3. Predator, I'm going to go to you on this, dude. Are you surprised with the success of this game? And are you surprised that everyone is just loving it possibly more than Forza Horizon 3?
Not at all. You know why? Because they actually marketed this. Like
yes,
a lot
they
of
did a great job. They did.
They haven't marketed their exclusives very well this generation, and they actually did with this one. I saw it everywhere, and I think that's what helped sell it. And then plus, with it being in Game Pass, that kind of added to it as well. People might have picked it up in Game Pass or tried the demo that came out a couple of weeks ago and just fell in love with it, because I noticed a lot of people are saying I wasn't a racing fan until I played Forza. I wasn't interested in this game until it came to Game Pass. So it works in 2 different ways. The demo, Game Pass, and the fact that it's a good franchise. People always talk about how good this franchise is. It's word of mouth, and plus they marketed it. So I'm not surprised at all. I think they did a good job with it this year, and I hope they continue that with the other games they come out with later on. They actually market them and reap the profits of it. But this is one of the best racing games ever, or franchises now anyway. So of course it's going to sell. I mean, it was a given.
Yeah. Listen, I knew that this was going to be big, but I when you talk about Playground Games, you're going to get quality. Okay, I'm sorry to say that's the reality of it. But I just want to read a direct quote from Playground Games, and this is what they quoted to the press. "We are thrilled that Forza Horizon 4 has been so well received by gamers across the UK. Set in beautiful historic Britain and made by the British studio Playground Games, Forza Horizon 4 is the fastest selling game ever in the Forza Horizon series there in the UK, according to the latest GfK data. We're also seeing a huge uplift in Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass subscriptions and engagement. These achievements are a testament to the craft and ambition that we were able to put into this game." Don, are you surprised by this statement? And more importantly, what are your thoughts on Forza Horizon 4?
I'm not surprised. Because it continues to grow franchise after franchise. So when they release a bad one is when we're in trouble. You're going to see that decline, but it keeps improving each time around, and it's finding its own audience. What I don't know is when they say it's the most successful in the series, are they comparing it to Motorsport and Horizon, or just Horizon on its own? Kind of irrelevant kind of comparison, but I would say it would be interesting to actually know what they're talking about there and what one it really is. And I think honestly, Game Pass helps game sales and vice versa. So
Yep.
this is all good things. As Pred mentioned, that people are trying it, and I've said this is the most difficult thing in the industry right now. People are making great content, but man, it is hard to get people to try games sometimes. And so this is, a great outlet for that. And I think it's just also a win for the service, just in general. So
Look, this is a big win for, you have to look at it from a couple of points of view. Okay. Microsoft had an abysmal 2018 when it came to first party games. We all know that. This is not a revelation from BoomStick, okay? But we know what they're doing. They have officially rectified the issue with having studios to put out first party games. We saw that at E3. I'm expecting more announcements come XO18. We're now hearing obviously that they're supposed to make some sort of big announcements there. I'm expecting it. But this is a big win for Playground Games. They're already the AAA developer we knew that they were, right? That is not a surprise. But it's more important, in my opinion, for the Xbox brand for this big W, because obviously, they had Sea of Thieves, lukewarm response. State of Decay 2, if you didn't play it, I urge you to play it. I did not think I was going to enjoy it as much as I put 60 hours into that game. Loved every minute of it. It was terrifying because I didn't want to lose any of my characters. Permadeath is real, folks, and it scares me at night. So, with that said, those were, 68, 69 Metacritic score releases. Then you talk about the rest of the year, there really isn't much. We didn't get Below. We didn't get, Ashen, which I was, I'm hoping that, hoping that in December we get those two games. That would be big. Yes, sir.
Real quick, I've talked to the Ashen devs. They said that game's still coming out this year.
Oh, there you go, folks. You heard it live on BoomStick Show. Thanks to Predator. Breaking news, Ashen will be released, hopefully in December. Dude, that's really awesome for you to do. I appreciate that. And I'm expecting that also to be on stage, come XO18. But why this is important for Microsoft is they could end the year with a strong, very well received, very well reviewed, so-called niche game. And in Forza Horizon 4, I think it's important. I'm proud of Microsoft for doing the marketing, because you guys know, I love the Microsoft brand, but I will call them out and do a curb stomp when necessary. And they actually did do the correct marketing on this one. But I'm going to say this: it has been one hell of a show. In fact, it might have been one of the best shows I've ever done. I not only pulled the 10 topics from my original teleprompter and script in front of me, but I also grabbed two others, and I can't believe we got them all in. I have to thank Predator and Don for being here today. You guys really bailed me out because it was tough to get. A couple of people backed out. Unfortunately, Saltiest Gaming was supposed to be here, and me and Salty are super cool. His computer basically shit out on him and it's frozen, so that's why he was in the chat supporting me anyway. So big shout out to Salty. I hope he gets his his computer situated. Once again, I have to thank the chat for being as awesome as always. I always say I like a proper chat. I like it to be a friendly place for people to come and just hang out with other gamers. And even though UK Dazarus was not here, who is the moderator of the universe, he is celebrating his son's 12th birthday. That's why he's not doing the moderation today. I didn't even need to toss anybody. Big shout out. Listen, I pride myself on having a good chat. Like, that to me is important. I want people to come and hang out in the chat and feel safe and feel that they can talk with other gamers and just enjoy themselves. So big shout out to them. Predator, you have some stuff coming up. Obviously, you're going to be on the next podcast, and I'm telling you right now, you got to put that video up that you talked about in the DM, so you could win. I say vote Predator, but tell everyone where you're going to be and where they can follow you, dude.
Next podcast tomorrow. Saturday. And me and Z are doing a one-on-one. We haven't set up a date yet. But other than that, man, you guys can find me playing Assassin's Creed.
Nice.
I'll be playing some, let's see, what else I got coming down the pipe this year? Battlefield. I'm waiting on that free Call of Duty copy that somebody in the chat is going to give me today.
Mooching 2018.
Other than that, man, Predator_H2OS pretty much everywhere. Make sure I put a couple of videos up this week of Assassin's Creed Online using the Google Stream service.
Nice.
Make sure I'll check that out. It actually works. Other than that, man, I'll be around.
All right, well, that's great, and definitely check out his YouTube channel. He does put up content, and the fact that he was playing the Google streaming service and had no hiccups, that's something worth watching. So definitely check him out. The Don, well, I have to say thank you. I really always enjoy having you on. Your technical prowess is something that I look forward to because you discuss the topics from a gamer's point of view, but you also put that developer, mentality into it because, you are in the business. And I really do appreciate that. Please tell everyone where they can find you and possibly vote for you on the next podcast.
Yeah, you can definitely vote for whoever you want on the next podcast. I don't know if I'm up for a vote. I think I won last week again, but
not again.
Not again.
Yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter, which is the Don _KTR. The same thing with my gamer tag, but just a space, no underscore. And there's going to be some big changes happening with the Don and all that sort of stuff. So definitely tune in the next couple weeks or so.
Nice.
There's
breaking news,
there's going to be a big announcement there as far as what I'm doing and what's happening. And it's changes, but it's all good changes. It's all done in good heart. So no one jumped to the wrong conclusions, but I bet you guys will enjoy it for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I don't have any inside information, but as soon as we go off the air, I'm going to ask him what and I can't disclose it, folks. Sorry. There's some inside baseball things that we can't talk about. But listen, once again, thank you to the chat. Thank you for anyone that's going to listen to the show on a replay, and thank you to my esteemed colleagues. I could not have done the show without you. Everyone have a fantastic and safe weekend, and I will see you next week on the next episode of Breakfast with Boom. Have an awesome day, everybody.
Later.